David here with Figboot on pens, back again with another fountain pen review. We all have our likes and dislikes when it comes to this hobby, things that we're drawn to and things that we don't particularly care for. That doesn't mean those things are bad. It's just, as Mike from Inkdependence would say, they're just not my jam. I'm not that into vintage pens. That bug hasn't yet to bite me. And I have also had a long-standing dislike for kit pens. And it's a kit pen that I have to share with you today. I think my feelings boil down to a couple of different factors. One is I don't find the vast majority of kits to be attractive. And when I say kits, I'm talking about the hardware, everything other than the nib and the exterior cap and barrel. Sometimes I find them a bit gaudy, and the sections tend to be extremely long and skinny, which doesn't match well with my personal preferences. And the second reason is that while in no way am I trying to insult the artistic abilities of craftsmen who make kit pens, I feel it is fair to say that it is significantly easier to make kit pens than one which is full bespoke. Physical, artistic, and craftsman talent are not my strengths, and I feel like if given a kit and a lathe and a decent resin blank and the right tools, I could make a somewhat adequate kit pen. I have seen some amazing bespoke craftsmen at work, and yeah, that level of craftsmanship is not in my current skill set. I say current because you could always learn. Just because you're not good at something now doesn't mean that you can't be good at it in the future. But then again, I'm never going to dunk a basketball no matter how hard I practice. The creation of the bespoke parts replaced by the kit, in my opinion, is the most difficult part of the pen making process. And I want to see all the talents of a pen maker, not just their ability to turn a blank into a sleeve for the cap and barrel. The pen I have for you today is from a company by the name of Highlander Pens. It is based out of Lone Tree, Colorado, here in the U.S. Lone Tree sounds like a place that should be out in the middle of nowhere, but it's not. It's in the Denver metropolitan area. And the partners behind the brand are Chuck Lineger and his wife, Candy. And thanks go out to Chuck and Candy for providing this pen for review. When they contacted me about potentially doing this review, I was hesitant, but I was intrigued about some custom elements they had incorporated into the kit. So I thought that I would give it a shot with some fresh eyes. Will this pen change my mind about kit pens? To find out, please join me over here at camera 2. The pen arrives in this nice custom box with some nice branding on it, and when it opens up, kind of opens up like here with these flaps. And inside we have a little felt pen sleeve. There is a standard international cartridge, actually a long cartridge. And then here is the pen. So here we have the Highlander Molten Metal. It's a pen made with resin, and the trim is rose gold plated. I believe they call it red gold on their website, but I do think that it complements this resin nicely. I do like this resin. It has a nice combination of golds and browns and grays and yellows. I think it's an interesting combination with a bit of chatoyance in there. And so I think it looks nice. And like I said, I think that the rose gold complements it well. I prefer the rose gold over yellow gold in most situations. So let's go ahead and take a look at the parts and features of this pen. To begin with, on the finial, there is a coin, and it is the logo of the Highlander Pen Company, and that is the rampant lion, which is a royal emblem of Scotland. It's been used dating back to Alexander II back in the year 1222. It symbolized courage and nobility and strength and pride. I've been to Scotland before. It was a very nice trip. I played some golf. I went to a proper Scottish pub. I had some really nice fish and chips. What more could you want from a Scottish vacation? I really enjoyed my time there and would like to get back there in the near future. Now, next up, we have the clip. It is slightly bowed. It does have a bit of flexibility to it, so it accommodates materials of varying thicknesses. The cap is straight. And then at the end, we have another area where this kit has been customized. We have this nice band, and it's a little bit challenging to see, but here within the negative space, it does have the company initial of H. So that's an H there in the middle, and so that was a way that they could customize this kit a little bit more. I'd say there's a very small step down from the cap to the barrel. And again, the barrel is straight. And then at the end, we have this end piece. And on the very end, we have another rampant lion. The cap twists off with about 1 1/4 rotations. And underneath, we have a number 6 Jowo nib. I will say that I like that this pen does have a Jowo nib as opposed to the Iridium Germany nibs that a lot of kit pens use that are not high quality whatsoever. So it's nice that this one has a Jowo nib. And there is the plastic feed with a little bit of ink on it, as you can see, as I recently inked up this pen. In regard to the section, I can't say I'm particularly fond of this section. It's not as long as some of the sections I've seen on other kit pens, but it still is rather lengthy and very skinny. It is slightly concave. It is metal, but I don't find it to be so slick that my grip moves at all, so I do find it to be accommodating. The threads in the back are not sharp, even though they are metal. And then there is let's call it medium to large step up going from the section to the remainder of the pen. I do find this pen long enough to use unposted, and the cap really does not post at all. It's not designed to be posted. So it's good that it's plenty long enough to use this way. This is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges, and the converter is provided. I will say that I think that there is literally just enough room here for the converter in this particular pen, because if I have this out and let's say I push it in just a little bit and I go ahead and seal this. I know it's going to be hard to see, but right at the end you can see it's not quite twisted yet, and I can feel it hitting the end, and that last kind of twist really pushes the converter in all the way. So I think it literally just has enough space in here. It's not butting up against it when you have it in fully, but I think there is literally just enough space in order to accommodate that. With the metal incorporated in this pen, then eyedropping would not be recommended. Okay, let's go ahead and look at some measurements, some size comparisons, and then I'll provide a writing sample. In regard to some size comparisons, in regard to some other bespoke pens, this is what it looks like with a Ryan Krusak. This is a Legend 16 in Coco Bolo. Then here is a Carolina Pen Company. This is the Charleston model. And this was a Winter Cave resin that Jonathan and I made together. And then here is an Urushi pen from Tamanuri Studios. In regard to some non-bespoke pens, here it is with a Pilot Vanishing Point and a Faber-Castell Loom. And then here it is with a Lamy Safari. In regard to some uncapped comparisons, here it is with that Safari. Here it is with the Loom. And here it is with the Charleston from the Carolina Pen Company. Here we go with the writing sample for the Highlander. Molten Metal. This is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink that I'm using is Private Reserve. Copper Burst. This is what the ink looks like. It's a nice copper that has a bit more shading than something like Diamine Ancient Copper, which is kind of one of my go-to browns and coppers. And then this is what it looks like with the Franklin Christoph Terra Firma. This ink was discontinued, but this is a little bit more on the red side. This is what the large 60 milliliter bottles look like. They are nice and wide. Maybe I wish they were a little deeper, but Private Reserve does have some nice inks. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. Like I mentioned, this is a nice Yovo nib, so you are going to get a Yovo nib experience on here. I will say that this one is nicely tuned, that it isn't necessarily overly smooth, but there is a bit of decent feedback to it. I'd say the ink flow is a bit on the medium side. In regard to reverse writing, it started to fade a little bit, but it wasn't that scratchy. And then in regard to some fast writing, the feed kept up well. So there we have the Highlander Molten Metal. The price for this pen is $159, and it's available from the Highlander pen website. I will put a link to it in the notes below. I did notice that they have free shipping for anything over $100 in the US or $200 international, so there would be free shipping on this pen. Now, does this change my mind in regard to kit pens in general? No, they're still not my favorite, but I will say this is a step in the right direction. I do like that this one has some custom elements to it, which kind of helps separate it from a lot of the other kit pens that I've seen on the market. I also like that it uses the standard Yovo nib, which is nice. Now, I'm still not a fan of this section, but I do overall like this material, and I think a full bespoke pen out of this material would look interesting as well. So, like I said, while I'm still not completely sold on kit pens, I feel that this is a good step in the right direction, and something that if you are into pens like this and want something along these lines, that it's well worth checking out their site. Okay, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.